In today's video, we're going to be talking about the books that I'm currently reading and the books that I look forward to reading, and some little video ideas mixed in there. Grab your tea, take a seat, get all cozy, and let's dive into this extensive list. First off, I am currently reading 2 books by Brandon Sanderson. I almost finished with one, and I'm only 2 pages into this next one. So let me get into it a little bit. I have like 100 pages left of Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, and I can't recommend this book enough. It has been such an amazing fantasy to get into. To me, it was super light. Like, I was super surprised because I know Sanderson has like hard magic and he has epic fantasies and everything like that. So picking up this book for the first time was surprising to me because I was looking into using my brain a little bit more, and this story has not required a ton of my brain capacity. I have gotten through it extremely quickly, and I have loved every single minute of it. And I can tell you for certain, none of the characters give me the ick, and none of them have brought me any annoyance, and that's rare for me considering their 2 of the point of views are like female characters, and usually sometimes when not Brandon Sanderson, when men write women, they write them extremely annoying and crabby and whiny, and they get on my nerves. I don't really like women written by men all that much. And sometimes I don't even like women written by women. I am very picky when it comes to liking a book where there have been women perspectives. But it's great. And also, there's bonus points. There's some brownie points in this book for you if you're a Christian, because it's basically the story of Esther, but sci-fi edition. I've highly enjoyed reading this book because of that. The second book that I'm reading by Brandon Sanderson is for a video idea. I'm currently also filming a separate video about me running an experiment on Instagram where I read the amount of followers I have per day, and I chose Brandon Sanderson's book to be the one that I read, and I've made it like basically 4 pages in because I read through the preface, the followers, and then I'm halfway through the second page. So far it's been going slow. I don't really know how this experiment is going to go. So far, I have liked the little bit of Mistborn that I have seen. It seems very intriguing. So this is my looking forward TBR, what books that I want to eventually get into, starting with fantasy and different series in fantasy that I want to dip my toes into. For a video, I want to read the Throne of Glass series. I read the first book and I really enjoyed it, but I got 30% through the second book and did not enjoy it. It felt very slow and the same thing happening over and over again. And Celine, I don't know. The main character just kept eating her cake. She kept eating her cake over and over and over again in so many different scenes. And she kept having her cake. And I'm just like, I am so bored. We are in the same setting and she's doing the same thing all the time. I have a couple friends who want me to read it, so I thought it might be a fun little reading challenge for me to do where I read all of the books. That will be a video that's going to be coming in the future. Another new series that I haven't touched but I've heard really good things about is Naomi Novak's TBR books. That series, the first one being His Majesty's Dragon. I really want to get into those because I love any sort of alternative history type books, like historical fiction with like a twist, which this is basically that. It's the Napoleon era with dragons and fantasy elements, and that sounds like so much fun. Like, literally makes me super excited. I was doing my research while I was filling out this list today, and I'm like, I want to read that book. I want to read that book almost immediately. So who knows? That video might be coming sooner or later where I do a little reading vlog of that, because it sounds really fun and really epic. And I've heard raving reviews about Naomi's writing, and a lot of people love all of the series that she has. Another book that I really want to read is Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I haven't read any of Stephen King's fantasy, and I haven't read any of his thrillers. I've really only read his suspense novel, like Billy Summers. That is literally the only novel I have read by Stephen King, and I really loved it. Stephen King is so masterful in the way that he just immerses you into the story, and you get out of it and you were like, whoa. I really felt connected to all of the characters in Billy Summers. So I wanted to get more into his books this year, and specifically I'm going to be starting myself off a little bit softly with reading Fairy Tale, which is like a darker fantasy vibes, but there's like parallel worlds that are at risk. It sounds really cool and fun. I loved his writing in Billy Summers, so I want to see what else he can do. I will also be reading 11/22/63 by Stephen King, which is like a historical fiction about the JF Kennedy shooting, because that has also raving reviews from so many people, and I read the back of the book and I am very intrigued and really want to read that. So those are my two Stephen King novels. Going back a little bit to some fantasy books and series that I want to get into is I want to read A Blade Itself, Noir fantasy, like grimdark fantasy and murder conspiracies. Like, enough said, like sign me up. I really want to read it. Especially because when I'm also currently writing my own book, especially going into what I'm writing and how I want to write. I do want to write a darker and a grittier version of a fantasy, because I want it to feel real, and I want it to feel impactful. I want to read more of that. I have read it, but I haven't read a ton of like grim, darky type fantasy, so I want to read more. Another fantasy series that I want to get into is Jade City by Fonda Lee. Again, purely because a lot of the YouTubers that I watch really highly recommend it, and every time I've looked at that whole series, I forget what the series itself is called. I'll put it up on the screen. But every time I've looked at that series, I think I would read it like in the blink of an eye. It just seems really, really like my vibe. Another series that I want to get into that's not particularly fantasy, but more so leaning towards sci-fi, is Empire of Silence by Christopher, I'm looking at his name right now, Christopher Ruccio? I don't know how to pronounce his last name all that way. I'm so sorry if I butchered it. But I want to read his Sun Eater series and his book Empire of Silence. Again, because it's highly recommended, especially by Daniel Green. And he says if you love the Red Rising series, which I do, and I'm on the 4th book of, then you would really love his Christopher's Sun Eater books. So I really want to get into that because it's like heavy, like gladiator, Roman Empire type of influences in future, in space. The next book that I want to read, going back to fantasy, is I do want to eventually read Fourth Wing. I don't want to say a lot about that. Everybody knows what that book is about. I bought it for my sister for Christmas, and she read it really quickly, so she would like me to read it so that we can talk about it. Going back to sci-fi is the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, the first book being Leviathan Wakes. It sounds really epic, I want to get more into the sci-fi realm. I haven't read a lot of sci-fi besides Red Rising and Dune, and a couple Star Wars books here and there. And I've read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but that's really the only like sci-fi I have read. Though I've watched like science fiction movies and stuff like that. So I want to expand my reach. Technically, Warbreaker is counted as sci-fi. But it's kind of like sci-fi fantasy, but they intermix those a lot. So leaving that for a little bit and coming to these things, I have a couple palette cleansers to take me out of the heavy world building aspects of my fantasy or sci-fi books. I have Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I again want to expand my palette when it comes to books. I don't really read general fiction all that much, and that book seems interesting to me, especially me being a gamer, and they are developing a game, I'm pretty sure. I will correct myself on the screen if I'm not. Sounds really interesting, and I did get that book for my birthday from a friend, So I really do want to read it eventually. And then another book that I want to read that is more of a dark academia vibe, If We Were Villains, by M. Rio. I started reading that book a while ago with a friend, and we had like a little book clubby thing, but we both got really busy and kind of set this book aside. And again, some more palate cleanser type books is I want to read Checkmate by Ali Hazelwood. I just love the rom-com aesthetic of chess, and I loved Queen's Gambit, it's a show on Netflix, and I absolutely loved that show. So just putting more of a rom-com aspect on like playing chess and being like really cute and fun just sounds literally just sounds cute and fun, and it sounds like I will read that book within 5 hours. And another one of those books that I also have as a palate cleanser is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Patson, which I think that one's the one where the description of that book is: an overworked book publicist with a perfectly planned future hits a snag when she falls in love with her temporary roommate, only to discover he lives 7 years in the past. That just sounds really fun, and again, like a quick read. So going into another section is I have series that I'm in the midst of. So I'm in the middle of the Dune series. I'm on the 4th book. I'm on God Emperor Dune. And I completely love this world that Frank Herbert has created, and I have enjoyed every single moment of it. If you haven't watched it already, I did post a video before this one where I read Dune for the second time, being that I haven't read it in a couple years and I wanted a refresher since the second movie is coming out. The next book I have in the series is the Wheel of Time series. I'm reading Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, though I have set it aside for a quick second because I read the first 5 books really quickly, especially the first 4. I read those like back to back to back to back, and it really slowed me down in reading everything because it takes a lot of brain power for those books. There's a lot of things to remember, and book 3 was not my favorite. My favorite books have been 1, 2, and 5. Book 3 was really slow for me, and book 4, I did not love Perrin's perspective in book 4. And to me, it slowed the book down a lot. Though book 4 is a lot of people's favorite, and I did like it for other people's point of views, but I did not like Perrin, and there was a lot of Perrin in that book, and I did not like his point of view. It was just so slow. This is my dog Kylo. He's actually my brother's dog, but he loves me so much. You love me, Kai Kai. Yeah. And I love him. Yeah, hello. Yes, give me your paws. Hellos. So I'm on the 6th book of the Wheel of Time series, and we'll be getting into that book eventually this year. I don't know at what point. I kind of, like I said, I wanted to take a little break of it so I don't burn myself out, because I really do love the entire storyline, but I don't want to end up hating it by forcing myself to read these books. So I will be spending more time in that world eventually. The next series that I'm in the midst of is the Red Rising series, and I'm on the 4th book. I'm on Iron Gold, and I completely am in love with the characters and the story, and it's so impactful. And the way that Pierce Brown makes you just feel connected to all of these characters and feel like you can empathize with any and all of them is amazing. The story is so good. When I was reading this last book, the 3rd one, which is Morning Star, I wrote a review over overall the entire series, but especially while reading Morning Star. I said, I don't think I have ever read a series that has left me saying wow or speechless as much as this series has so far. It literally has taken me on a roller coaster of emotions. I have cried, I have laughed, I have felt dread, I have felt anger. Literally, I feel so connected to that world and to those characters. And Pierce Brown does a wonderful job of making his characters relatable and makes you root for them like so much. I will be moving on, but I'm on Iron Dome. So I have 2 books left in the things that I am reading. The next 2 books that I am reading are both by Stephanie Garber. I am reading Finale in the Caraval trilogy, and then I also have A Curse for True Love, which is the 3rd book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I would really love to finish reading that series because Stephanie Garber writes fairy tale-esque stories so well. Like, they are so magical, and the soft magic system is amazing. It literally feels like reading fairy tales that you grew up with without being super cringy. And I have loved every single moment of spending it in this world she has created. I am a little bit nervous reading both of the books because and is one of the reasons why I haven't exactly finished them yet, because they are I've heard mixed reviews on both of them, and I love the beginning of the series and really want it to end well. So I don't like finishing things if I know it's not going to end well because I get scared. But I really should finish these books. I really highly enjoy all of them, and I will probably like the ending of all of them. I just have to motivate myself to read them. That being said, that is my TBR, guys. Thank you for sitting through all of this and just listening to me talk about books. I'm very excited for this year and what it may bring with this channel and just all the good reading vibes. I want to know, guys, what books are you currently reading and what books do you look forward to reading? I would love any and all book recommendations if you couldn't guess. It's really fun for me talking about all these books. So I just want to say thanks again for watching. We will see you next time.